Hey guys, Renee with foodhealing.org here, and I am hopping on super quick here on Friday night to show a very easy recipe for you guys. Now, I know a lot of people have gone grain-free, and that works really wonderfully for the body, but there are still a lot of us out there that enjoy having sandwiches, wraps, things like that, but we want a better option. And one of those great options is using sprouted flour, sprouted wheat flour. When you sprout the wheat, it changes the different ways that it affects the body. So that's definitely a topic I think we'll explore more in some other videos. So this is a very quick and simple thing. You can, from start to finish, be ready in 30 minutes, including rest time, maybe even less. So let's get started. So the prime ingredient I'm using here is a 100% whole grain sprouted wheat flour. This brand is from King Arthur Flour. And if you'll notice, I actually just cut the top off of this bag. I noticed that I tend to forget to do that. But when I'm trying to get, let's say, a cup of flour out of a bag that's half full, I struggle to get it out without pulling all, dumping out the flour, or else I try and pour it into a measuring cup and I get it all over the counter. But if I just cut off the top, I'm going to use a ½ cup scooper and just dip in twice. I am sure that there are other wonderful sprouted flour brands out there on the market. This is the one I've been using, and it's been working exactly as I want it to. So in a regular mixing bowl, you're going to add 1 cup of your sprouted whole grain flour. Now I should mention, guys, if you haven't washed your hands, you should go wash your hands because you will be touching your food. Next, you're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. We recommend Himalayan pink salt or Celtic sea salt. You want to make sure that you have Celtic sea salt. There are differences between regular sea salt and Celtic. Now this is a Himalayan pink salt. It's not a sea salt. And I would generally say that I prefer Celtic salt over Himalayan salt when I'm going to be cooking. It seems to retain that flavor better. However, what I have in the house is coarse, chunky Celtic sea salt that has some moisture to it also. So that's not going to work for mixing in here. So we're just going to use the Himalayan salt. It works wonderfully. And I'm just mixing it up just with a fork. Just mix the salt into the flour, easy as that. Okay, and the final ingredients. I have in this cup, I have 1 tablespoon of oil and 6 tablespoons of hot water, and I'm just going to add that in. Now for oil, I always recommend cooking with a saturated fat oil. That's something that typically naturally would be solid at room temperature. And the reason for that is it's more stable under heat. When you're using your unsaturated oils, your vegetable oils, your olive oils for cooking, that can form free radicals because it's not stable. The structure of the molecules are not stable under heat. And so you get into some significant health issues, especially over long term. You can also get fractionated coconut oil that stays liquid at room temperature. I'm still learning about that and what that process looks like. Or if you do consume dairy, you can use a ghee, which is clarified butter, which means that they've basically melted it and skimmed the milk fat, the solids, off of the top. So you're left with just basically the oil. Okay, and you notice I didn't add any yeast. And all I'm doing is just mixing the ingredients, and then I'm going to take my clean hands. I don't ever cook with gloves, guys. I just don't. And I'm just going to mix it up. Make sure you get all of the flour off the edge of the bowl. And just press it, mix it. And then, once I pretty much have it all together, I'm going to move to a lightly floured surface. Now, this consistency is good. You're going for a sticky dough. You want it to be sticky, kind of stretchy, but you don't want it to be so goopy that it's just all sticking between your fingers. So I just have here a silicone baking mat. And I'm going to grab my flour and just rub a little bit of flour on this. Okay, I'm going to scoop all of my dough, including any flour scraps that I have here. And then we're done with the bowl for now. We'll just set that to the side. And you're just going to knead the dough until it's well mixed, well combined. See how it has a little bit of a springy form to it? It's sticky, but it's not goopy. If you find that you have a dough that is too dry, you can add a little bit more water, or a dough that is too sticky, too goopy, you can add a little bit more flour. Just do it in small increments so that you don't mess it up. You're gonna have a little bit of rise with this, but because there's not yeast, it's not gonna be rising, you know, doubling in size like you would find in a leavened bread. So that's pretty good. Doesn't need to be crazy, amazing, something special happening. Just do that, and then I just place it back in my bowl. Take a clean towel or a paper towel and cover it up and just set it to the side for 15 minutes. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna leave it for 15 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and I'll show you what to do next. All right, we're back for step 2. So it's been 15 minutes. We uncover our dough. See it in here, it just looks, it's a little bit firmer now after having set. And you're just keeping in mind that this batch that we just made will be about 6 flatbreads. We're just gonna tear this into 6 sections. So I usually eyeball it. Again, make sure your hands are clean. And I just tear off a chunk about the size of a golf ball. We can always adjust these later and just roll it between your palms to form a ball. Loosely, you don't need to mash it up too tight. I can see that I made the first 3 probably a little bit big because we're going to be small on our last one. So we'll just tear some pieces off of those to make up our last dough ball. Yeah, so we'll just take a little here, a little here, a little here, combine it. Let's see how we do. A lot of cooking, guys, is just being able to adjust. I remember getting a tattoo with my favorite artist, and he said, you know, 10% of it's the art, 90% of it's cleaning up your screw-ups. That made me feel a little uncomfortable since I was under the needle, but it's true. Once you get the hang of how to do recipes, you follow the book really closely in the beginning, and then once you see sort of how things work and you understand how flavors go together, you're on your own, like the training wheels are off. So I know we're just talking about dough ball size, nothing complex, but it is a concept that applies across the board. All right, so we have our 6 pieces. We're going to go ahead and cover these, wait another 15 minutes. You can be flexible on that, and then we're going to come back and roll them out into flatbreads, and you'll be done. Okay, we'll be back in a minute. All right, guys, we're back to our final step, and then we're ready to cook. Cooking is super easy. I am not making flatbreads tonight, but I can explain that to you in about 10 seconds. So now that we're ready, I'm using the same mat here that we rolled out. And I'm just going to put all of my dough balls back in the bowl just so I have room to work. And you're just going to press it out. I find that sort of like banging the dough while I push out in opposite directions helps to get it started. And then I'll flip it over and do the other side, bang around the edges. Now, if you're doing flatbreads, you're going to get them as thin as like a tortilla. And the only way to truly achieve that is going to be to roll it. I usually, to be honest with you, for something like this, I just get out a nice clean pint glass, and I just roll it. Just roll it one direction, peel it off, roll it the other direction. If you are going to, now I've made homemade gyros, and so I've used it in place of like a pita wrap. I tend to leave it a little thicker for that. And I've also made vegan quesadillas, and I use the thinner version for those. So it just depends on what you're making. For these, since they're going to be a dough, like a crust to a little pizza, I'm going to leave them kind of thick. So I'm going to leave it at that size. I've measured this before. You're probably just close to 6 inches, but you can get it out about this big around and very paper thin when you roll it. And because I'm on a non-stick surface, look how easy it peels up. I've had problems with gluten-free recipes before where everything kind of sticks to everything. So that's it. You're done. Now I'm going to transfer these over. I'm going to put them on a baking sheet and bake it real quick and make 6 little personal pizzas for dinner. That'll be fun. What you would do if you were baking, just making a flatbread, you're just going to take a pan, put a little bit of coconut oil in the pan, heat it up over medium heat. You would place one at a time, place your tortilla, unless you have a really big pan, place your flatbread into the pan. Let it go for about 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds. Flip it over, do it on the same side. You'll get a little bit of bubbling, a little bit of browning. It'll be really nice. Take it out, set it on a dish with a paper towel on it, and that's it. So literally all 6 of them you'll cook in 5 minutes or less. And they're ready to go, ready to use. And you can keep them warm in the oven. You can refrigerate them for later. It's really an awesome thing. And I forgot to mention to you guys, in between videos, while the dough is rising, I have been making vegan coconut milk mozzarella cheese. I've been mincing garlic, chopping tomatillos, chopping veggies, and warming up my oven, getting it ready for the pizzas. And so even for, working all day and coming home, I started doing this whole process 29 minutes ago. My stuff's ready to go into the oven, and it's a nice sort of complex meal, and I made a video while I was doing it. So it's definitely something, this doesn't add craziness to your meal prep, and really you can do a whole lot of different things with it. And they're delicious. So I'll insert some photos of the finished pizzas at the end of this for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have fun making these. Of course, contact us with any questions. Our email is in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you never miss a video from us. And we hope to hear from you guys real soon. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.